Hello there, welcome back to episode 5 of Walk with Grace. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. This week I want to talk about comparison. Comparison is a killer and it kills me all the time. And I wanted to talk about it because I'm on my phone a lot of the time and I've found that it's really affecting me. And it seems obvious, obviously when you're on social media and consuming a lot of media, you're going to naturally compare yourself. But I feel like that is not talked about enough in a sense of what that does to your relationship with God. It's obviously talked about in a negative light all the time in the general world. Obviously comparison isn't good, but comparison in your relationship with God is even worse, I would say, because it's going to kill your true calling and what God truly wants in your life, because you're wishing for someone else's calling, you're wishing for someone else's blessing, and then you're missing your own, And so that's kind of what I want to talk about. I have a couple of different points, and then I have a couple of different scriptures to share with you all. And I'm very excited for this episode because it is something that affects me quite a lot, and it's something that I just want to talk about. So the first thing that I thought about when I thought of comparison was in October 2025, I was on this retreat, and I was kind of overseeing it. I didn't have much to do, but I did give a talk on my experience with God and how God kind of met me in my life, similar to my first episode. And basically, I think that a lot of people also kind of shared a similar experience where God kind of came to them. They felt this warm embrace, this warm hug, everything was going to be okay. And I found then that a lot of the retreatants were kind of disappointed then when they were oh, well, I want to go and sit in the same chapel as in the story, and I want to go and I'm going to sit there and wait for God to talk to me, And I remember feeling so disappointed in myself that I had let that kind of become the standard of how God is going to meet you, because that's not at all going to be the same in everyone's life. And even in those kind of similar examples, it was a very different experience for each of the people talking. And I just found that very sad, because them comparing their experience with their kind of surrender to God and their decision to give their life to God, right? They were being I'm going to do that to feel what they felt. I'm going to do that to get that same experience. But none of it is the same experience. And you're going to kill your relationship with God if you're waiting to get someone else's experience, because that's not how that works. That has to come from a genuine want and need for God. And you're not going to get that if you're sitting around waiting to have God meet you in the exact same way he met someone else, or in the exact same place, or under the exact same circumstances, because that's just not how that works. And God will show up for you in the way that you need, but his plan for your life is separate and individual than anyone else's, and no two people have the same plan. And even if people have similar lives, the same jobs, they have the same way of life, habits, their individual kind of monologue, heart and mind is completely different. The people they touch, completely different. The way that they meet people is just completely different. There is no two people on earth that are the same, that have the exact same experiences. And that's intentional. That's for a reason by God. He's designed us all to be different and have individual experiences so that our testimonies can be powerful, because they're our own. He's met you exactly where you are, not where someone else is, and then you went in their place and hoped that he'd still be there. When he's already in you, you just have to have a genuine openness to God and a genuine surrender to God and just want him, and he will meet you where you are. And that doesn't look like what my experience looks like. That doesn't look like what any of the other leaders or people that were on that retreat look like. We all have different experiences, and any single testimony that you may have is also going to be very different to mine. And I think that comparison kills a really beautiful thing, because someone who's waiting on that experience and waiting for God to finally maybe like physically show them he's there, because sometimes your faith can be kind of a decision or a habit, and you haven't actually like felt the Holy Spirit or felt God kind of console you in a way that can feel quite physical at times. And you're kind of waiting on that moment with him, but you're going to miss the moments that he is there already for you, because you're looking somewhere else. You're looking to the side instead of up. You know, you're not looking up to God. You're looking over to your peer who's having an experience with God that you could be having too if you were looking up. You're just missing it because your focus is somewhere else. And I think that's a shame. Like, that's a really big shame to miss that special moment, an individual moment with God. Your relationship with God is so private and so individual, and to be comparing that with other people and other Christians, other peers that share your faith, you should be looking at that, and me included, I'm guilty of this, but you should be looking at that as a testimony and encouragement, not as something that you are like wishing for or jealous of, because God is with you in the exact way he needs to be. And I think that's really, really important for us to be remembering and reminding each other of, because it can be quite easy to forget when you're looking around and someone's like, oh, God really showed up for me last night, I was really upset, or I got this huge win in my life, and then you're kind of losing in your life at the moment, let's say, and you can feel really hard done by then, and you're kind of like, oh, what am I doing wrong? Am I doing something wrong? Am I maybe not being a good enough Christian or anything like that? When, like, you don't have to drag yourself down just because someone else is winning. You are where you need to be in this moment. And if you're not working hard enough, work harder. That's separate. That discipline is separate. It doesn't mean you're being a bad person. It's just separate. That's the only word that I have for this, is like, there is no comparison in someone else that you know's relationship with God and your own relationship with God, because it's just so individual. That's the only words I have. Comparison distorts identity. This is actually something I only thought about recently, but it makes a lot of sense. So if you're comparing yourself to another person's life, let's say, you're going to miss your own purpose and your own privilege in your own life, because you were created by God to live in a certain way, to live your life the way that his plan and his will allows it. And if you are focused on your friend's wins and you're like, oh, well, I'm super jealous of that, I'm single right now and I really want a boyfriend, I'm really jealous of this couple in a relationship, I'm feeling very lonely, you're gonna miss all of the beauty in being single, because you can do a lot of growth without having someone else's pressure on you. Like, you can move forward not a lot faster, but you don't have to worry about anyone else. You can just like lock in and just go for it. Whereas when you're in a relationship, you kind of have to get that person to lock in with you so that you can be locked in together. And that's like pressure, and it can hold you back a little bit. And there's just a lot of different things that come with being in a relationship, that there's also separate battles that come in when you're in a relationship also. And it's just a lot more of a straightforward path, and you're going to miss the beauty of your single period while God prepares you to become the partner you need to be before you get into that relationship. Maybe this period of singleness is part of his plan for your life, where you are becoming the best version of yourself, your partner is going through the same thing, and then you get together, and then under God you get to be like the most best parts of yourselves. Whereas like in my relationship, I got in my relationship a lot earlier in life, way before I knew God. So there was two very imperfect beings who meet God, who are then going through all the trials, all the ups and downs of the emotions that come with finding God and like trying to be a new, better person. And then like if you're in your single era while you're going through all of that hard stuff, you get to go in like pure and be rejoiced in that love. Whereas there's a lot of mud you need to go through to get there when you're already in the relationship. So you can never compare these two things. Like God is so intentional with his timing, and he has very creative timing, and it's perfect, and he's never going to let you down. So if you were meant to be with someone at this time, you would be. And for me, it is as simple as that. I trust God completely. I trust his plan. And there is no comparison there, because you just need to be okay with what you're given, because you need to rejoice in the blessings that God gives you. Philippians 4:11. I am not talking about shortage of money. I have learned to manage on whatever I have. Philippians 4:11. I am not talking about shortage of money. I have learned to manage on whatever I have. So let's say, for example, in this, being rich means you're in a relationship, being poor means you're single. He's saying that he's not talking about having no money. He's not talking about being poor. He's learned to manage on whatever I have. And then he says, I know how to be poor, and I know how to be rich too. So he is saying that no matter what the circumstances of his life is, he will always lean on God no matter what. Whether he's really, really rich or really, really poor, he gets his fulfillment from God, not from the money, not from the complaining of being poor or anything like that. He doesn't wallow in what he doesn't have, but he also doesn't wallow in what he does have. He just takes what he is given by the Lord and thanks God for whatever it is. Because even when you're in your worst, lowest point in your life, you have something to say thank you for. You have food in your belly, you have a roof over your head. Maybe it's that you could get inside for 5 minutes or get outside for 5 minutes, or whatever it is. There is something simple. You had clothes on your back. There is something simple to be thankful for and to praise God for. And it's in knowing that and in learning that you find that comfort and the pure kind of passionate love for God, that you lose sight of the comparison. There is no jealousy to feel, because God has given you exactly what you need in that moment. And if you were supposed to have something else, or supposed to have more or less, you would have more and you would have less. So I just really think that you need to trust in God's plan and in God's timing for your life, and stop looking at everyone else's. And this is a message I'm telling myself also, because I get lost in what I see other people around me getting that I wish I was getting. But it's in being patient with God and in trusting his plan for your life that you just cannot give in to the comparison and how terrible it can make you feel sometimes. And it can make you kind of angry with God too. Like, I remember thinking, like, gosh, like, why are you giving them that and not me? Like, I feel like I'm being a better person than them right now. And like, what a horrible thought to have, you know? Like, everyone's just doing their best, you know? Like, you can't be mad at someone for winning, or you can't be mad at someone for losing. Like, it just, God wanted that person to have that in this moment in their life for a bigger thing than me and what I wish I was having right now. And to lose sight of that is to lose sight of God. You cannot be jealous of how God is blessing someone in their life plan, because it's their life plan. It's not for you. Look upwards, spend time with God, pray, and you will see what God has in store for you. But you cannot keep comparing yourself to someone else, because it's not going to make you happy and it's going to separate you from God. The next thing that I have is that comparison creates pride and insecurity. Now, this one for me is the most personal of all of these points, because for me, the comparison that I tend to feel is either like, oh, this person is losing, kind of makes me feel good, or, oh, this person is winning, I'm very insecure now. Comparison creates pride and insecurity. It doesn't only breed pride and it doesn't only breed insecurity. They kind of bring each other in, because when you're comparing yourself to someone, you're either being like, I'm better than them, or you're being like, I'm worse than them. Comparison doesn't really go any other way than that. You either think you're better or worse than that person. And neither is good, because God hates pride and God doesn't want you to feel insecure, because he has and sees your value. He created you for the purpose of your life. And if you're going to compare yourself to someone else, make yourself feel terrible about yourself, that's not what God wants at all. That upsets him. And he hates to see that. And so for me, as someone who used to be a very jealous person, like, I would find myself being very insecure and very just jealous and bitter in general. And then because I was so jealous and bitter of other people winning, if I found someone that I thought I was doing better than in that given moment, it would make me be kind of like happy that they were not doing very well. And like, that's just horrible, and that would make me feel horrible too. So like, I either felt horrible about how kind of happy I was that someone was losing, or it would make me feel horrible that I was losing. So like, what is to win there? Like, if I just looked, now I didn't have God in my life at this time. That's not an excuse or anything, but I didn't know I was supposed to be looking up. If you have God in your life, you should know that you are supposed to be looking up. And if you catch yourself swinging your head to the side, lift it back up, because you're never going to feel God's purpose and plan for your life. You can't discern his plan for your life if you're looking at someone else's. Like, I can't really put more on that. Like, it just is what it is. He cannot show you what's supposed to be in your life if you're not looking for it. You're looking at someone else's life and wishing for that instead, and you're gonna miss what he wants for your life. You're gonna miss that. There's a story that is coming to my mind right now, where Jesus is walking on water and he tells one of his disciples to join him, and like, the disciple comes out on the water and he's floating, he's walking on the water with Jesus, and then he starts to doubt and he starts to look away from Jesus. He's looking around him, and the minute he looks away from Jesus is the minute he starts drowning. That's what is going to happen if you keep letting yourself get distracted by comparison. And social media makes that really hard, because you're getting all the highlight reels of everyone's life. You're getting everyone's travels. I'm seeing everyone on Erasmus right now on my Instagram, and I'm like, I would love to be on holidays. But that jealousy that I feel of people being on their holidays, like, I don't see them going to college. I know that logically they have to be going to college, but that's not what I'm being shown. I'm showing them having the time of their life in the sun, and like, I should not be focused on that, but it's all I can see because I'm on Instagram. It's just really important to focus on the fact that God calls people differently. Comparing yourself will lead you to ignoring God's calling in your life. And I want to draw attention to the different kind of figures in the Bible. So Moses led a nation. David ruled as king. Mary carried Jesus. John the Baptist prepared the way. They all had different assignments on earth, and they are all very important figures in the Bible. Imagine John the Baptist was comparing himself to Moses and was like, oh, but I really want to lead this nation. Like, I really want to bring everyone out of this place, you know. He would then have missed God needing him to prepare the way for Jesus Christ. Imagine he was not looking upwards and he was looking around and seeing Moses, or reading about Moses and being like, oh, I wish that was my calling. Like, I want that calling in my life. He would have completely missed his assignment for preparing the way for Jesus, who then saved us all. So, I mean, you cannot get too focused on what's going on around you. You can't keep wishing for someone else's life, because you're going to miss the importance and the privilege of your own. Life is such a beautiful thing, and to miss it by looking at other people and imagine wishing your life away. You have a purpose, you have a reason, go after it, you know? Like, there is nothing, as long as you're looking up, you're looking towards God, you cannot fail. There's nothing to go wrong once you're looking and focusing on God and not on other people and not wishing on someone else's life, you know. So I think that a really good antidote to comparison is gratitude. You've got to be thanking God for all of the blessings in your life. You need to be spending time in silence and in prayer. You need to be talking to God. You need to be asking him to show you his plan for your life. And you need to practice genuine encouragement for other people. You need to truly be celebrating other people. When you see another person win, be like, thank God, you are achieving your goals through Christ. You are getting it done. Like, that is a beautiful and amazing thing. And if that person has just won, then you weren't supposed to. So there's no point in being jealous, because that person needed to win, because otherwise it wouldn't have happened. Otherwise it would have been you, because that's God's will, you know. So I think it's just really important that we practice gratitude, prayer, and genuine encouragement for other people. Those are my tips for you, and I'll be listening to them myself. I promise you that, because I definitely need to. Thank you all very much for listening. That is all I have for you this week. I very much hope I will see you next week. Thank you so much again for your time. God bless you.